Buenos días y bienvenidos a Semana 9, Module 9B. Primero, un repaso del vocabulario 2 para pedir y dar la hora, asking for and giving the time, y el reloj de 24 horas. Take a quick look at telling time once again. La materia nueva para este module 9B, la gramática útil 1, interrogatives, creating questions en español, y la gramática útil 2, we'll move on to a new batch of verbs, this time verbs ending in ER and IR. And as with the AR verbs, these are regular, indicative, or present tense. That means present tense verbs. Primero, un repaso del vocabulario útil 2 para pedir y dar la hora. Let's talk about telling time. So quick recap here. Say qué hora es to ask the time. What hour is it? Use es la or son las plus the number of minutes to state the time. Es la una, es la is only used with 1 o'clock. Son las, any of the other hours from 2 until 12, is used with numbers over 1. Use e, the word and, plus minutes to add minutes up to the half hour. We're going to talk about how to say the time before the hour, but you can actually add minutes up to 59. Por ejemplo, son las 3:20. Use y cuarto, or you can use y quince to say 15 past or quarter past. Por ejemplo, son las 6:15. You could also say 6:15. And use y media to say half past. You can also say y 30 in that situation. Por ejemplo, son las 8:30. You could say son las 8:30. Un repaso. Use menos plus the minutes for times after the hour. Son las 10, after the half hour rather, sorry. Son las 10 menos 20, it's 10 minus 20 minutes, which gives you 9:40. Use menos cuarto or menos quince for 1:45. Por ejemplo, son las 2 menos cuarto, it's 1:45 till 2, 1:45. Son las 3 menos quince, it's 1:45 till 3, or 2:45. You can also use the expression faltan a number of minutos para la to say that there are minutes that are missing before the hour. So just take a look at the expression faltan 5 minutos para la una. So 5 minutes are missing for 1 o'clock. But it's fine with me, and it's perfectly fine if you use the first expression that we learned. It's a certain hour minus a certain number of minutes. Also perfectly fine if you always just only use adding the minutes. To specify the time of day, you use de la mañana, de la tarde, or de la noche. To say it's 7 in the morning, repitan, son las 7 de la mañana. To say it's 1 in the afternoon, repitan, es la 1 de la tarde. To say it's 11 at night, repitan, son las 11 de la noche. Un poco de práctica. ¿Qué hora es? And it is p.m. Es la 1 de la tarde. ¿Qué hora es? a.m. this time. Son las 5 de la mañana. ¿Qué hora es? Son las 6:10 de la noche, 6:10 in the evening. ¿Qué hora es? A few ways to say this one now. Notice it's in the morning. Son las 8:15 de la mañana. Son las 8:15 de la mañana. ¿Qué hora es? A few ways to say this. Notice it's p.m., afternoon. Son las 3:30 de la tarde. Son las 3:30 de la tarde. ¿Qué hora es? Give one time adding minutes, and the next one, say the minutes before the next hour, and notice it's the evening. Son las 9:35 de la noche, 9:35 p.m., or son las 10:25 de la noche, or 25 minutes until 10, 10 minus 25. ¿Qué hora es? 3 ways to say this one. Notice it's in the evening. Son las 6:45 de la noche, 6:45. Son las 7:15 de la noche, 15 minutes until 7. O son las 7:15 de la noche. It's 7 minus a quarter till 7. Un poco más. To say it's noon, you use es mediodía. Repitan, es mediodía. Now notice the word día is masculine, so the word for half is medio, because it's agreeing with día, mediodía. To say it's midnight, you say es medianoche. Repitan, es medianoche. Noche is a feminine word, so media is feminine to agree with noche. Repitan, es mediodía, es medianoche, es tarde, es temprano. So a few other expressions there to say it's early or it's late. Repitan, ¿tienes tiempo para tomar un café? ¿Tienes tiempo para tomar un café? Sí, es temprano. Sí, es temprano. Ay, no, ya es muy tarde. Ay, no, ya es muy tarde. ¿Qué hora es? You can't tell, given what's displayed here, whether it's morning or nighttime. ¿Qué hora es? Es medianoche, maybe it's midnight. Es mediodía, maybe it's noon, midday. Muy bien, now compare the following two questions and responses. A tiny bit to add here. If you're asked the question, ¿qué hora es? Here's one way to answer, es la una, son las dos, etc. Look at the difference in this question. ¿A qué hora es la clase de español? What little word do you notice it's making a big difference here? The tiniest little word in the question. A, which means at. So now look at the change. We're not asking what time is it right now. We're asking at what time a certain event is happening. And look at the response. We're going to take that little word a, at, and include it in the response. Es a la una. Es a la una. When you ask the time, you use que. ¿Qué hora es? And when asking at what time something takes place, you include a. ¿A qué hora es? So let's just do a recap of that. You use ¿qué hora es? To ask the time. To answer, you use es la with una in minutes, or son las with an hour greater than 1 in minutes. Por ejemplo, ¿qué hora es? Es la 1:10. Son las 5:20. Now the part that we just added, you use ¿a qué hora es? To ask at what time an event occurs. To answer, you have to include the a. Es a la una. Es a las dos. It is, so you start the question with it is at, and then you continue. Por ejemplo, ¿a qué hora es la clase? Es a la 1:30. It's at 1. Es a las 2:15. It's at 2:15. So notice that we're using the singular la in front of una and the plural las in front of dos. But your response to at what time something is, you start with it is, es. A la for one, a las for more than one. So let's see if you can do this practice. ¿Qué hora es? Es la una. ¿A qué hora es la clase? Es a la una. It's at 1. ¿Qué hora es? Son las 9:30 or son las 9:30. ¿A qué hora es la clase? Es a las 9:30 o es a las 9:30. Fíjate, have a look. We're going to look at now at the 24-hour clock, el reloj de 24 horas. The 24-hour clock is used globally. We're pretty much the only country that doesn't use this on a regular basis for train schedules, plane schedules, etc. But you will see this in all other parts of the world, and particularly in all Spanish-speaking countries for schedules and official times. The system is based on counting the hours of the day from 0 through 24. The first 12 hours of the day from midnight until noon are represented by the numbers 0 to 12. So just like our regular clock, any time after noon is represented by that time plus 12 hours. The H after the time stands for hours. For example, 1 p.m. is 1 o'clock plus 12, or 1,300 hours. 2:30, you take the 2:30 plus 12, 1430 H hours. In 5:45, you add 12 onto that 5, and notice that these are all p.m. If they said a.m., it would look exactly the same on the clock. Hours from 0 till 12, the morning hours will look exactly the same in military time. It's the hours from 12 noon until midnight that are going to be the plus 12. So 5:45, you take the 5, add the 12, is 17:45. Now to go backwards, to go from a 24-hour time to the 12-hour clock, you just do the opposite. You subtract the 12. So the only hours you're going to do this for are any hours you will see above 12. If you see on a military clock a time that is from 1 through 12, you know that it's exactly what it is. It's your morning hours. But once you see 13 to 23, you know you have to subtract the 12 to have it make sense. For example, 1,300 hours, you subtract the 12, 1 p.m., and you have to add the p.m. afternoon. 1430, subtract the 12, 2:30 in the afternoon. 17:45, subtract the 12 from 17, 5:45 in the afternoon. The 24-hour clock is almost always used in written form. In conversation, Spanish speakers use the 12-hour format, adding de la mañana, de la tarde, or de la noche for clarification. On to la gramática útil 1, interrogative words, making questions en español. Okay, working with las preguntas. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different here. You're going to see the question word in Spanish, a little funny phrase to try to remember the question words, the interrogatives, and a picture that goes with it. So what I would like you to do is, por favor, repitan. You're just going to simply repeat. Repitan. ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo? How does the cow moo? ¿Cómo? How does the cow moo? ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuánta? ¿Cuántos? ¿Cuántas? ¿Cuánto? Quantity. Cost. Amount. How much? How many? Notice all those T's. Let's say it again. ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuánto? Quantity. Cost. Amount. How much? How many? Repitan. Cuando. Cuando. When do you do your taekwondo? Cuando. When. Repitan. ¿Quién? ¿Quién, quién, quién? Who? ¿Quién, quién, quién? Who? Repitan. ¿Cuál? Which qual, my pretty? He. ¿Cuál? Which qual? Repitan. ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde? Where does dawn hide day? ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde? Where? Repitan. ¿Qué? ¿Qué? What is the K for? ¿Qué? What is the K for? Repitan. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? Why is porque pink? Why is porque pink? Okay, repitan. ¿Cómo? How does the cow moo? ¿Cómo? Repitan. ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuánto? Quantity. Cost. Amount. How much? How many? Repitan. ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo? When do you do your taekwondo? Repitan. ¿Quién? ¿Quién, quién, quién? Who? Repitan. ¿Cuál? ¿Cuál? Which qual, my pretty? He. Which? Repitan. ¿Dónde? ¿Dónde? Where does dawn hide day? Repitan. ¿Qué? What is the K for? ¿Qué? What is the K for? Repitan. ¿Por qué? Why is porque pink? ¿Por qué? Now see if you can come up with the interrogative how. Think of the little expression we just learned, how. ¿Cómo? Remember the expression? How does the cow moo? ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo se dice how much, how many? ¿Cuánto? Quantity. Cost. Amount. How much? Many. ¿Cómo se dice when? Taekwondo. ¿Cuándo? When do you do taekwondo? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cómo se dice who? Who? ¿Quién? ¿Cómo se dice which? Which call? ¿Cuál? ¿Cómo se dice where? ¿Dónde? Where does dawn hide day? ¿Cómo se dice what? ¿Qué? What is that K for? ¿Cómo se dice why? ¿Por qué? Why is porque pink? Okay, see when come along here. See if you can say the question word. Why? ¿Por qué? How? ¿Cómo? How much? How many? ¿Cuánto? Who? ¿Quién? Which? ¿Cuál? Where? ¿Dónde? Where does dawn hide day? What? ¿Qué? What is the K for? And the last one, when? ¿Cuándo? When do you do taekwondo? So maybe those little tricks will help you remember the question words, but let's just say them and have a look at their significance in English. Repitan. ¿Cuál? ¿Cuáles? ¿Qué? ¿A qué hora? ¿De qué? And we're going to talk about the a and the de in front of some of these. Repitan, ¿cuándo? ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuánta? ¿Cuántos? ¿Cuántas? ¿Dónde? ¿A dónde? ¿De dónde? ¿Quién? ¿Quiénes? ¿De quién? ¿De quiénes? ¿Cómo? ¿Por qué? A few rules about interrogatives. All interrogative words, all question words are preceded by an inverted question mark. The question mark is closed with a regular, or the question rather, is closed with a regular question mark. So remember that when you're writing, you must put the upside down question mark at the beginning. In addition, all interrogative words have a written accent. It can actually change the meaning of the word without the accent. For example, it's that which I want. Es lo que quiero. Que without an accent in a sentence changes the meaning to that. Very important that you include the accent on the syllable that has the stress. Note that quién and cuál change to reflect number. So, ¿quién es el chico? Who is the boy? ¿Quiénes son los chicos? Who are the boys? ¿Cuál es importante? Which is important. ¿Cuáles son importantes? Which are important, por ejemplo. Along with that, cuánto also changes to reflect both number and gender. So, ¿cuánto dinero? How much money? For example, ¿cuánta gente? How many people? How much people? A few more rules. ¿Qué versus cuál? This can be difficult for us in our English language. ¿Qué is used to ask for a definition. ¿Qué es el reloj de 24 horas? What is the 24-hour clock? So you want a definition. ¿Qué is used to ask for an explanation or further information. ¿Qué vas a estudiar este semestre? What are you going to study this semester? You want an explanation or more information. ¿Qué is generally used when the next word is a noun. ¿Qué libros te gustan más? What books are most pleasing to you? ¿Qué clase tienes a las 8? What class do you have at 8? So you'll see following the interrogative ¿qué, there's a noun, libros, or clase. When do we use cuál? Cuál is used to express a choice between specific items. ¿Cuál de los libros prefieres? Which of the books do you prefer? It's also used when the next word is a form of ser, a form of the verb to be, but the question is not asking for a definition. So look up above again. ¿Qué es el reloj? So what is the 24-hour clock? That's a definition. Look at the bottom. ¿Cuál es tu número de teléfono? Which is your phone number? ¿Cuáles son tus clases favoritas? Which are your favorite classes? So you'll notice that a form of the verb ser is after cuál, but it's not asking for a definition as above. So un poco de práctica based on what you just heard. What do you think? Will you use cuál or will you use qué? Número uno. Cuál, because the next word is a form of the verb ser, but it is not asking for a definition. Número dos. Something is a zapato. What is un zapato? So you're asking for a definition. What is that word in English? And by the way, it's shoe. Número tres, something vamos a cocinar. We are going to cook. ¿Qué? What are we going to cook? You want some information. Número cuatro, color es tu favorito. What part of speech is color? It is a noun, so there you go, there's your clue. ¿Qué? When the word following the interrogative question word is a noun, it's going to be ¿qué? And the last one, something de los dos colores es tu favorito. ¿Cuál? This is asking for a selection. Which of the two colors is your favorite? Let's continue with some rules. Let's look at using donde, a donde, and de donde. Donde is used to ask where something is. Por ejemplo, ¿dónde está la biblioteca? Where is the library? Notice now when we say put a, which means to, it's used to ask where someone is going. To where are you going? ¿A dónde vas ahora? Where are you going now? And by the way, we're going to be learning the verb to go in this module. Notice that donde and a donde are both translated the same way into English, where, but the a is to, so they're putting the to in front of the question. Oftentimes you'll hear in English, where are you going to? Which is very incorrect English, actually dangling that to at the end. In Spanish, they put the to in front of the question. The other form of donde that we will see is de donde. Use de donde to ask where someone is from. And once again, the from is going in the front of the question. From where is Juan? Where is Juan from? De donde es Juan? Let's look at how de quién works, de in front of quién. De quiénes and de quiénes son are used to ask about possession. And part of this module is going to be gramática útil about possession, my, your, his, her, etc. You answer using de. Let's take a look at ejemplos. ¿De quién es la computadora? Whose computer is this? But you have to ask of whom is the computer. The respuesta es de Miguel. It's Miguel's. The apostrophe S for possession does not exist in Spanish. So we can't say es Miguel's computadora. We would have to say es la computadora de Miguel. And again, we'll get into this later in the module. Plural, de quiénes son los libros? Of whom are the books? Whose books are they? Would be the air quotes translation. Son los libros de Anita y Manuel, or son de Anita y Manuel. They're Anita's and Manuel's. Again, no apostrophe S. We have to say son los libros de Anita y Manuel. And let's take a look at por qué. Notice por qué as a question is two words with the accent over the E and K. And por qué as a response, because, is one word contracted together. So questions using por qué are answered using por qué. Let's take a look. ¿Por qué tienes que trabajar? Why do you have to work? Notice the por qué as an interrogative is two words, accented E. The response, ¿por qué necesito el dinero? Because I need the money. Note that the interrogative is two separate words with an accent on K, the E. Por qué is one single word with no accent. All right, the final section on questions, interrogatives. You can form simple yes and no questions by adding a tag question, such as verdad or no to a statement. So you've heard this in English, something like, you're going to the movies tonight, right? So that's what we're talking about. Just a statement that turns into a question by adding that little right or no at the end. Let's take a look. Cantas en el coro con Ana, no? You sing in the chorus with Anna, right? No? Another ejemplo. Enrique baila salsa muy bien, ¿verdad? Enrique dances salsa very well, right? So note when a Spanish speaker adds verdad or no to a question, he or she is expecting an affirmative answer. So you sing in the chorus, right? And they're expecting the other person to say, right, yes. Enrique danced salsa very well, right? Yes. Now note that only verdad can be added to negative statements. Let's take a look. ¿Usted trabaja en la cafetería, no? Yes, I work in the cafeteria. Usted no trabaja los viernes, ¿verdad? So there's a negative statement. You don't work Fridays, right? So you're not going to put no on the end of that sentence. So a negative sentence, you can only use verdad. So let's do a little bit of práctica. Complete the conversation with the appropriate interrogative words or tag questions. Here we go. Hola, Daniela. ¿Qué tal, Silvia? Bastante bien. Oye, something corres hoy. Notice the answer, en el gimnasio, in the gym. What is the question word? The interrogative is ¿dónde? Where are you running today? En el gimnasio. Then we have another pregunta. Look at the respuesta. Porque tengo la clase de Zumba después. So they're giving you a reason. What would the question be? ¿Por qué? Why? Because I have Zumba class afterwards. Zumba, something es Zumba. ¿Qué es Zumba? Remember, asking for a definition requires qué, not cuál. So now we have la explicación. Es una clase de ejercicio aeróbica que usa música hispana y bailes latinos. Es muy divertido. Ah, sí. Y something es la instructora. La respuesta es la señorita Lerma. ¿Quién? ¿Quién es la instructora? Who is the instructor? Señorita Lerma. La señorita Lerma, ella es de Puerto Rico. What's a tag question? What would you put there? ¿Verdad? You could also say no. Sí, es de San Juan. Muy bien, moving on to the last sección de este module, which is la gramática útil 2, regular ER and IR verbs. And now you're going to be able to add these quickly to your knowledge because this is going to work in a very similar pattern to something you already know, AR verbs. Conjugation of regular ER and IR infinitives in the present tense. So remember, what's an infinitive? An infinitive is the to form of the verb. It's the form that you find in the dictionary. It's the form of the verb that ends in AR, ER, or IR, and it's the form that is not yet conjugated. So it's not changed to match a subject. So let's look at how to conjugate these verbs. First of all, this is good news. They conjugate just like regular AR infinitive verbs. First, you break down the infinitive into the verb and the parts. So you chop off that ending and you're left with the stem and the ending. And then just like the regular AR verbs, once you break down the stem and the infinitive ending, you can conjugate them. These are our ER verbs. Repitan, por favor. Aprender a. Aprender a. To learn how to do something. So aprender a will be followed by an infinitive. For example, aprender a hablar español. To learn to speak Spanish. Aprender a bailar. To learn to dance. Repitan, beber. Beber, which means to drink. The word la bebida means the drink, the noun, the drink. Beber. Repitan, comer. Comer, which means to eat. Repitan, comprender. Comprender. You can see the cognate there, comprehend. You can see that in that verb. Repitan, correr. Correr, to run. Repitan, creer. Creer en. Creer means to believe, and creer en means to believe in, if you add the en. Now we have one that's going to work like aprender. It's used oftentimes with another infinitive. Repitan, deber. Deber. Por ejemplo, deber estudiar. Ought to study, should study, for example. Repitan, leer. Leer. You know that one from our commands a while ago. Repitan, vender. What does a vending machine do? Vending machine sells. Repitan, vender. To sell. Let's go over them one more time. Repitan, aprender a, beber, comer, comprender, correr. creer, creer en. Beber, leer, vender. On the next slide, they'll start to scroll by. Look at the Spanish and call out the English. Here we go. To ought to, should, to eat, to believe, to comprehend or understand, to learn to read, to learn, to believe in, to drink, to run, to sell. Now get ready, they'll scroll by. See if you can call out the Spanish. I know it's a little bit early. Beber, beber. Comer, comer. Creer, creer. Comprender, aprender a. Leer, aprender. Creer en, beber. Correr, vender. So how do we conjugate these ER verbs? Well, we do the same as we start out when we conjugate the AR verbs. First, you find the stem by dropping the ER. So take an example. We have vender. What do you chop off? You chop the ER. And what would the stem or root be? You'd be left with vend. And remember that in the stem or root is the meaning of the verb. What do we do next? We chop the ending. Next, we look at the subject. So here's our regular double-crossed chart. And we have our subjects, first on the left-hand side singulars, right-hand side plurals, and then you know what comes next? We add. We add the correct verb ending, and here are the endings. O, es, e. Hemos, eis, en. Look familiar? They should look familiar. Follows a very similar pattern to the AR verb conjugations. The only change is what? The A has been changed to E for every conjugation. So let's see if we can practice with one. We have the verb vender. What do we do first? Chop off the ER, and what are we left with? We're left with the stem. And then we simply add the ending. So yo vendo, how would you say you sell or are selling or do sell? Tú vendes. He, she, or you formal sell. Él, ella, usted vende. We are selling. We do sell. We sell. Nosotros, nosotras vendemos. You guys, you gals, you guys and gals are selling books. Vosotros, vosotras vendéis. They are selling books. They are selling the house. You all are selling pizza. Venden. Let's just say the forms. Say them with me. Vendo, vendéis, vende, vendemos, vendéis, venden. And let's look once again at some of the rules of the regular conjugation of these verbs. The present indicative, which is I'm talking about something happening right now, depending on how it is used, can correspond to the following English. I read, I am reading, I'm going to read, I do read. If asked a question, do you read, are you reading? Sometimes I see in your translations, in your work that you do for your homework, you'll say something like, yo soy hablo, thinking that you're saying, I am talking. Take that form of ser out of there. Remember that the am, is, are, do, does is built into the translation. So if you write something like yo hablo, that means I talk. I am talking. I do talk. The same thing will apply with our ER verbs like leer. Second, you can often omit the subject pronoun when the subject is clear from the verb ending or from the context. For example, if you see leo en la biblioteca todos los días, you know with that O ending, it only can mean I read in the library every day. Lees en la residencia estudiantil, no? You read in the dorm, right? Lees, that ES ending can only be used for tú. Un poco de práctica. So give the correct present indicative form of each verb and translate the sentence to English. So we have ella and vender. What form of the verb would go with ella? And then what does that sentence mean? Ella vende. She sells. She does sell. She is selling. Número dos, creer with vosotros. Vosotros creéis. So you guys believe. Leer, nosotras. Nosotras leemos. We read, we are reading, we do read. Número cuatro, aprender, ellos. Ellos aprenden. They learn, are learning, do learn. Cinco, comprender, tú. Tú comprendes. If we ask the question, ¿comprendes tú? ¿Tú comprendes? Do you understand? Are you understanding? Remember, am is our do does can be built into the translation. Seis, comer, él y yo. Él y yo comemos. He and I eat the pizza. Comemos la pizza. Número siete, beber, tú y ella. Depending on the country, tú y ella bebéis la Coca-Cola, tú y ella beben. So it depends on whether the tú y ella you're talking about vosotros if you're in Spain, or vosotras, or ustedes. Y finalmente, número 8, aprender a, yo. Aprendo. So, por ejemplo, yo aprendo a hablar español. I am learning to speak Spanish. Bravo! Let's move on now to IR verbs. And let's first learn the IR verbs that we'll be focusing on in the module. Repitan, por favor. Abrir. Abrir. You should know this from your commands that we learned a while ago. Repitan. Asistir a. Asistir a. I bet that some of you thought that meant to help, to assist. This is a false cognate. It means to attend. Por ejemplo, yo asisto a la clase. I'm attending the class. Repitan, compartir. Compartir means to share. So maybe you can think of little mail compartments and you're sharing the envelopes with everybody in the apartment complex. Compartir. Repitan, describir. Describir. And the next one, descubrir. Descubrir. So notice describir has the I like describe, descubrir to discover. Cubrir, by the way, means to cover, like to put a cover on something, cubrir. Repitan, escribir. Escribir. You can see the word scribe in there, and that should be familiar from our command section in our first chapter. Repitan, imprimir. Imprimir, to print. You can almost see the word print in there. Repitan, recibir, good cognate. Recibir, to receive. Repitan, transmitir. Good cognate. Transmitir, to transmit or to broadcast. Finalmente, repitan, vivir. Vivir. And we use this extensively in our greetings. ¿Dónde vives tú? ¿Dónde vive usted? So let's go through them one more time. Make note of the English as you repitan, por favor, el español. Repitan, abrir. Asistir a. compartir, describir, descubrir, escribir, imprimir, recibir, transmitir, vivir. So in the next slide, you're going to see them scroll by. You will see the Español, call out the Inglés. To transmit or to send. To describe. To print. To discover. To attend. To open. To receive. To share. To write. To live. Get ready now and see if you can come up with any of them now in Español. Transmitir, describir, imprimir, descubrir, asistir a, abrir, recibir, compartir, escribir, vivir. So to conjugate these IR verbs, you'll be so happy. This is just like our ER and AR verbs. First, you find the stem by dropping the IR. So if you see our example, vivir, you chop off the IR and you're left with the stem viv, V-I-V. What do you do next? Well, of course, you look at the subject. Notice I've included now, instead of él, por ejemplo, the subject might be Marco. Instead of ella, she, the subject could be any singular feminine subject, for example, la chica. Instead of nosotros, it could be el hombre y yo, el estudiante y yo. Anybody and y yo could take the nosotros form. Instead of vosotros, vosotras, anybody y tú. Los estudiantes y tú. La mujer y tú could become the you guys. So keep in mind, those forms will take the subject pronoun or subject that would work. Ellos, por ejemplo, could be los chicos. Ellas could be Ana y Sara. Ustedes could be Ana y usted. So what are the endings for these IR verbs? Take a look. O, es, e, imos, is, en. And what do you notice? That's right, 3 of them are exactly the same as the ER verbs. I always say the IR verbs are jealous of the ER verbs, except for nosotros and vosotros. And you're going to see the I comes into play there, imos and is. Don't forget the accent on is. So they're very similar, identical, except for nosotros and vosotros. So give it a try. Como se dice, I live in Buffalo. Yo vivo en Buffalo. Are you living in the dorm? ¿Tú vives en la residencia estudiantil? He lives in New York. Él vive en Nueva York. We live in the United States. Nosotros vivimos, nosotras vivimos en los Estados Unidos. You guys, y'all live. Vivís. And they or y'all live, ellos, ellos, ustedes viven. Let's just say the forms. Say them with me. Yo vivo, vives, vive, vivimos, vivís, viven. Continuing with some of the rules. 3, you may use an infinitive after certain conjugative verbs. For example, ¿tienes que imprimir esto? Do you have to print this? ¿Necesitas leer este libro? Do you need to read this book? Dejo de leer después de medianoche. I stop reading after midnight. So notice that when 2 verbs are used together, The first one is conjugated, the second one is in the infinitive, just like in English. Do you need to read? That second, we don't say do you need you read, right? We leave the second in the infinitive. However, do not use two verbs conjugated together unless they're separated by a comma or the words and or. Por ejemplo, leo, comma, estudio y escribo composiciones en la biblioteca. I read, I study, and I write compositions in the library, separated by commas or the word and. Remember that you can negate sentences in the present indicative tense. You can make them negative to say you don't do them just by putting no in front of the verb. No comemos en la cafetería hoy. We're not eating in the cafeteria today. We don't eat in the cafeteria today. No leo todos los días. I don't read every day. I'm not reading every day. So some ejemplos. Give the correct present indicative form of each verb and translate to English just like we did with our ER verbs. Número uno, recibir tú. Tú recibes la tarea. You receive the homework. Número dos, escribir ellas. Ellas escriben mucho. They write a lot. Número tres, asistir a and él. Él asiste a la clase. He attends the class. Número cuatro, describir. Nosotros. Nosotros describimos la lección. We're describing the lesson. Número cinco, vivir. Los chicos. Los chicos viven en Nueva York. Número seis, imprimir yo. Yo imprimo el papel. I'm printing the paper. Número siete, compartir Marco. Marco comparte los libros. He shares the books. Y finalmente, abre el gimnasio. How would you put the gym opens early? El gimnasio abre temprano. So the gym is third person singular, acts just like he, she, it. Muy bien, es el fin de Module 9B. Buen trabajo, mis estudiantes, y hasta pronto.